Consent Podcast.
Hey everybody, this is Matthew, and Rizzle and I are back again this week with another special interview on the You Deserve a Drink podcast. This week, our special guest is Nich from the NFT-based conservation project, Last of Ours. Nich is a really awesome person who I was fortunate enough to meet in February at NFT NYC, thanks to our mutual friend, Arnold Waldstein. On this particular episode, Rizzle and I spoke with Nich about her project, Last of Ours, what the current status is, the impact of COVID-19 on a distributed project, a new startup like Last of Ours, and some of the potential interesting implications of her project on digital identity and reputation. We also got into her involvement in the Meta Gamma Delta DAO, which is focused on funding female-led projects. We shouted out a lot of strong projects and strong females working in the space, including Simona Pop, Carolyn from Mintbase, Kesonpat from SafeDie, and several others. We also dug into Nich's interest in the overall NFT space, highlighted her addiction to Avastars and scrolling, her collection of Pranksy, and her ambition to one day collect Matt Cain crypto art. So it was a really awesome conversation. I hope all of you enjoy it as much as Rizzle and I did recording it. So without further ado, please enjoy our conversation with Nich from Last of Ours. Okay, we're live. This is Matthew, and I'm coming back with Rizzle for another special interview on the You Deserve a Drink podcast. Today, I'm really excited to speak with Nich, who is co-founder of the NFT-based project focused on conservation, Last of Ours, and is also an active member in Meta Gamma Delta, which both projects we'll dig into heading forward in our conversation. But first of all, I'd just like to welcome you to the show, Nich.
Thanks, Matthew. Great to be here.
Well, we've talked a few times since we first met over at NFT NYC at a Crypto Monday event, thanks to Arnold Waldstein introducing us. That was an awesome introduction.
Yeah.
Thank you, Arnold. But for the rest of the folks at home, I think it'd be cool if you could introduce yourself and then start off by talking about what Last of Ours is and what you are aiming to accomplish with that project.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Nich, and I'm from Thailand. I grew up in the Middle East and was always sort of interested in biology and the life sciences, and really wasn't thinking much about technology at all until I went to the Bay Area for college. So I studied neuroscience and psychology at UC Berkeley, and obviously at Berkeley, CS and the entrepreneurial culture there were huge. So I ended up wanting to join a startup when I graduated in 2016. So I ended up joining Instacart in SF as a technical recruiter. So they do on-demand grocery delivery similar to Amazon Fresh and Blue Apron. I spent my days sourcing and interviewing software engineers and data scientists and learning about the projects that they work on, and also trying to convince them to come help us solve the problems that the company was working on. And the best conversations that I would have with engineers would be when I talked about the side projects or open source tools that they had worked on just to fuel their passion. And the company itself was full of talented entrepreneurs. So I think that was the inspiration for me to want to be able to build things myself. So I started to learn to code on the side. And one day, Naval Ravikant came in to our office for a fireside chat, and Bitcoin came up. And I remember distinctly that this was the thing that made me pay more attention to the space. The main narrative, especially during that time, this was about mid-2017, was mainly about decentralization, trustlessness, future of money, and ultimately about incentives on multiple levels, from community all the way down to the security of the consensus protocols. So I think the way that this united people and stakeholders in a way that you can't do with pure politics really just captured my attention. And anyway, so a lot of things happened in 2017. My H-1B visa, which I was on at the time, didn't go through because it was a lottery system. And I think it's making a round in the news again today because Trump is banning it or something. But anyway, so so the visa didn't go through, and I ended up, that really threw a spanner in the works for me at Instacart. So I had to come back to Thailand and join a software consultancy called ThoughtWorks. So I did more recruitment and ops for them here. And at the same time, just stuck with my researching on the blockchain space. There was a lot of noise at the time with the ICOs and, the Bitcoin fork happened that year, I think. And I just really wanted to be more involved in the space in some way. So I started writing and just started a technical blog as a way to navigate my own way through the space and share my learnings with other people. Contributed to things like cryptoeconomics.study and Andreas's Mastering Ethereum book. And yeah, so I mean, just my experience writing and sharing knowledge was a great learning experience to just write about. And then in about 2018, though, Vitalik came to give a talk at an Ethereum meetup in Bangkok. So I went to that event, and I met my would-be co-founder for Last of Ours at this event. He was running the Innovation Center out of a university where this event was taking place at the time. And I soon ended up joining his team, and we continue to run learning events and hackathons. So we had events with MakerDAO, Amisego, UNICEF Innovation, Gnosis, and so on. And the work wasn't just pure blockchain, but impact focus as well. So we spent a lot of time with conservationists and people working to tackle things like sustainability, ocean pollution, conservation financing. And the stories that they shared kind of inspired a lot of the ideas that we put into Last of Ours as well. So I mean, that was a great way to build community and meet people, but I still felt this hole of like wanting to build stuff myself as opposed to just facilitating the stuff that was being built. So along with my work with the Innovation Center and my writing, it led me to Osaka for DevCon 5 as an Ethereum Foundation scholar, where I reconnected with a lot of the NFT folks that I had met in Hong Kong a year earlier, and met a lot of the projects in the space as well. So that's sort of my background in the blockchain space.
Wow. So you're essentially like, this wasn't what you set out to do. If I'm trying to sum it up like super succinctly, you're essentially like a super fan of this space that you just dove in head first and one thing led to another. Do you use your educational background from UC Berkeley in this project in some tangential way, or have you essentially left that part of your life behind and are on to bigger and better things now?
I mean, it was definitely more of a case of like one thing led to another. It's a happy coincidence that I get to come back to the life sciences and animals and just working with people again. And my background in Berkeley has definitely helped me talk to these different conservation projects, because I kind of understood like the work that they were trying to do and the lingo and the animals and so on. But I wouldn't call myself like a biologist, but it helps, and I think it's a happy coincidence that I get to come back to this interest of mine, or this fascination.
Where's the project at now? I feel like there's almost nothing else like this in this space going on. And as you're talking about this, I do recall I was at NFT NYC, and there was one or two presentations that had something like around this like general concept going on. But I am a bit out of the loop with it. Where are things at? It seems like a really cool initiative. Yeah, interested to hear.
Yeah. So I mean, a little bit of a background on the project. So it started off as a hackathon project. We were at Nifty Hacks in Hong Kong in mid-2018 with this idea of doing basically CryptoKitties, but for endangered wildlife. And while we were there, we met projects like Neon District, Axie, OpenSea, and Decentraland had just finished their ICO. And so, I mean, the idea around Last of Ours is pretty simple. It's a platform of digital collectibles and games that fund wildlife conservation. So the collectibles will represent an individual endangered animal in the wild, and the number will be reflected by and limited by the population in the real world. So if there's 18 vaquitas left in the sea, there's only going to be that many issued. And I mean, at the time, we kind of saw these articles about dugongs and sea turtles getting washed up on beaches in Thailand because they had choked on plastic. So it's kind of like this big problem in Thailand where I think up to 60% of the world's ocean plastic waste comes from just 5 countries, and Thailand being one of them. And in the forests, there's a lot of issues with wildlife trafficking and poaching as well. So one of the first species that we're working with is actually Indo-Chinese tigers with a nonprofit called Freeland, which I can touch upon later. But I mean, so we were seeing all these bad news coming out about poaching and ocean pollution, and at the same time, we saw that someone had made a $100,000 bid for CryptoKitties at Ethereal that year. So we thought about, how do we kind of funnel this attention and hype and funding towards the on the ground grassroots efforts that is being made to save these animals. And I think one of the things that distinguishes that there's a few projects like this out there, but we wanted to distinguish ourselves from the beginning by not just have this be like a unilateral relationship where we're just sending funds to the nonprofits and then like no one kind of sees what that money is being used for, but actually have a two-way relationship with these NGOs where they're sending us blog posts, data, photos, videos of the work that's being done on the ground. Because from us just working with them, like they have so many interesting stories to share, and some of them are so underfunded. Like, so there's this national reserve in Thailand that has issues with people coming over from over the border to come poach tigers, and the rangers who are working to protect them, they don't even have shoes. So like that's sometimes like what this money is being used for, just to buy them shoes. And then the poachers have these like military gear and like, machine guns. So they're like just amazingly outnumbered by the people that they're trying to protect these animals from. So, I mean, just stories like that, and just the effort that it takes to curb these to curb these illegal activities, I feel like it should be more widely shared. And I mean, where better to do it than the metaverse, where people are spending more and more of their time.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you could like even go a little bit deeper, because I know you've put a lot of work into the project. I know not too long ago you approached QuantStamp for a smart contract audit, and I feel like there's a lot under the hood that people may not pick up with the short introduction that you give. So I'm wondering if you could walk us through like the whole project, the game element, and how the technical aspects work under the hood.
Yeah, sure. So we're issuing endangered animals as NFT tokens. So they're similar to any other ERC 721 NFTs that you see out there. I am experimenting with the 998 protocol, which is composable tokens. So these animals can actually own different things like wearables, and and these things can be transferred with them when they're transferred as well. So the idea is that when people buy these tokens or trade them, a portion of that goes towards an NGO, and the NGO is working to protect these animals directly. So and then eventually we'll build experiences where you can play these animals in games. And actually right now we're working on building a creative team to come up with the lore that these animals are based around, because we want to kind of sustain the attention and kind of the engagement that people are putting in towards these animals, as opposed to just be like, oh, these are NFTs that raise money for charity. So we're putting a lot of thought into the narrative and the lore behind these creatures. We're calling them spirit creatures. So we're putting a lot of thought into like, what is this lore and this world that these animals live in. So there's the NGO and kind of reality component, and there's also the fantasy component where you're kind of decoupled from reality a little bit and kind of falling in love with the stories that we're telling with these animals. So there's a lot of product design work that's being done right now in terms of that, and also just relationship management that we're doing with the NGOs as well.
So is this active like right now? Like I'm just curious, like brass tacks, like if I go on OpenSea right now, can I support a tiger? And like, if so, what does that generally cost? You know, where are things at right this second?
Yeah, so right now we're so over the past year, I think around the time that NFT NYC was happening, we were doing a revamp of the brand on our website. So if you go to spiritcreatures.io right now, you'll see kind of the new look of the project. So it's actually not live or on OpenSea right now because we're, as I said, we're working on the creative side of things right now. So the smart contracts are done, and kind of the technical documentation is there. So now we're kind of working on the lore and the character designs. So I mean, if you go on the website right now, it's just these like placeholder orbs in place of the tokens.
Cool. When do you expect to unleash? I mean, this sounds like a massive undertaking. So especially when you're trying to create your own like lore and world surrounding these things. Yeah. What's the timetable you're hoping for?
We were hoping for. So we pretty much hit all of our roadmap milestones in terms of the technical development. Right now we're focusing on our creative hires. So that includes character designers and narrative design. We have kind of a V1 of the lore already, but it was just me and my co-founder just riffing off, you know, different things that we liked from the games that we play, and also, you know, the different fantasy worlds that we've taken inspiration from. So we have that prompt for the narrative lead to kind of take a lead on taking it to the next level. So I think definitely by the end of this year, I don't know what's going to happen with COVID, but right now we're working on just building out that creative team. I feel like COVID has definitely kicked the can down the road for us a little bit. Hopefully by the end of this year, we'll have something.
Give me a ballpark number, Nich. I want to support a tiger. I want to take this tiger into your fantasy world. What do I got to shell out to do that?
So that's interesting. So we're going to start off with an auction model, and then the pricing structure is going to be based on actually the budgets that the NGOs give us. So if you go to one of our token pages, I don't know if it's live right now, but if you click on one of our token pages, you can actually see like a draft budget breakdown for where the money is going. So we want to like work on that with the NGOs to kind of give you as the token holder just a story around like where the money is going and what you're contributing to.
So you're not going to give me a number, huh, Nich? No, I understand. Right. It's complicated and a lot of wheels. I mean, do you like, just as like a general like thing, do you expect this to be treated as like a scarce, highly desirable? Well, I obviously want them to be highly desirable, but like more of like a scarce, like premium asset, or is this something you're trying to get in like thousands of people's hands at like a very approachable price point, or what's like the general aim? Yeah, so some of them are definitely going to be scarce and valuable and auctioned off, kind of like a Christie's auction, where the more the people with the spending power will kind of be bidding with each other on that. But at the end of the day, we want kids who only have like 99 cents to spend money on these games to be able to get their hands on it as well. Cool. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. Every time I hear about this, I get so excited, and I really hope that you get those hires in hand so that we can kind of like get this out there to people. I feel like that's been the thing since, again, NFT NYC talking to you about this is like, I want to get this out there, people experience it, because the story itself is really inspiring. Something that I feel like everyone can get behind and champion and support. I mean, coming from like the technical recruiting background, it's interesting that right now, like the last stage to get over is that recruiting challenge. these core hires, right? And well, I mean, obviously COVID is throwing a wrench into things, probably slowing that down. But I'm just curious. I know we had briefly discussed it before the call, but you mentioned COVID is impacting some other maybe adjacent fields around what you're aiming to do with Last of Ours. If you want to get into that and maybe how you could kind of use that headwind to your advantage and maybe like judo move it into something that you are planning to build out. That'd be interesting.
Definitely. So I feel like, so I'm based in Thailand right now, and we're at a very unique time where tourism has essentially gone down to zero, right? Which has never happened, thanks to COVID. And I think Thailand's done relatively well in terms of COVID response. We've been at zero for a while, but there's already an emerging problem now with single-use plastic. So at the beginning of this year, we overcame a really huge milestone where the stores around the country stopped using single-use plastic. And if you've been to Thailand, you know that 7-Eleven is kind of everywhere. Like there's like 3 7-Elevens per block, and the average person in Bangkok uses 8 plastic bags a day. So that's just insane, right? So we overcame a really huge milestone with banning plastic. But when COVID came around, people started ordering in, and so plastics have just gone up again, just because there was no alternative for these restaurants. So it's going to be a resurgence of this, and also single-use masks as well. So we're going to see kind of the consequences of that in a few months, I think. But also on the positive side, with the zero tourism thing, we're seeing really, really rare mammals come back to the ocean, like dugongs are coming, and there's turtles coming back to nest in Koh Samui, which is usually filled with like beach parties and bars and people, milling around. So now that's become a site for like turtles nesting. So I feel like it's definitely an interesting time for the government to come up with new boat regulations and tourism regulations, and it's easier for them to build it up from zero towards their carrying capacity, which is the healthy kind of amount of tourism that can go on an island, as opposed to before where they had to kind of like, it was already over capacity. So the challenge was to kind of like, they couldn't decide who to kick out essentially. So right now it's easier to build up from zero than build down. So with things like what we're trying to do with Last of Ours and sharing stories from the real world, we can definitely do things in the metaverse where we're promoting sustainable organizations that people use, right? Like sustainable tour operators, and just share and just bring people closer to what's happening on the ground and making them more cognizant about the next time they go to Thailand or the next time they visit wherever, to think about the environmental implications of these things, but in a fun way.
Oh, I love it. I mean, my son is 7 years old and is sort of obsessed with animals and is really just now like wrapping his head around like endangered species, why species are endangered, what humans did to like, get to this point and everything. And I would love nothing more to like load up a wallet and, give him some of these things to not only teach him about crypto, but like, he's genuinely like self-driven in his own right to learn about these things and is asking questions and everything. And I just think it's such a cool initiative that combines two things that I'm like very passionate about personally. And I can see it playing out, especially like you were saying, if the idea is to get these in the hands of like young people at like, a 99-cent price point or something like that. Like my kid doesn't care about like, the legendary one or whatever, but he does care about like what lizards are endangered in the world. And he would love to pull up his lizard collection on the iPad or whatever. of NFTs he's had. So I don't know. That's not even really a question or anything. Just like co-signing on the fact that this is a really cool idea that I would love to get behind. And I would imagine there's a lot more people like me out there who just have kids who just like animals. It's just a cool thing.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, even just within the animal kingdom, there's a lot of different communities, micro communities that can be built around like people who collect lizards or people who collect birds or people who collect, different ocean animals. And I really like the idea of just tying virtual economies with on the ground, like what behaviors you're doing on the ground to help combat, the wider problem of climate change and wildlife extinction in general. So I think Niantic actually did something like this a few years ago already, where they hosted for Earth Day, they hosted beach cleanups around the world, and I think depending on the attendance, they released more rare Pokemons than usual or something to those who attended the beach cleanup. So that's definitely something that we can tap into, like having your real world actions power up your animal in a game or power up your guardian profile in a game. So that's something I'm excited about.
Yeah, I'd be really excited to see those real world actions get tied with this digital identity. And especially when people start layering on the collection of the tokens once they come out there that are going towards conservation efforts, like that's a really, really interesting profile, because I'm sure like that profile is going to be associated with like Avastars, like crazy collections and crypto kitties and like all these other things in the space that are really interesting. And just the profiles that will emerge from there will be seriously interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
But one of the other projects that I was really interested to talk to you about, because I've seen you become more active, and it's a project that I'm not super familiar with, but it's Meta Gamma Delta, which, as far as I know, it's associated with Meta Cartel, and it's a project that's really focused on female-led projects. And I'm just wondering, like, if you could tell us what Meta Gamma Delta is, and dig into that.
Sure. So I came across, so Meetup Gamma Delta is a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization that aims to champion and fund women-led projects. So I wasn't one of the founders of it, but I think I joined like a week or two after ETH Denver, where the idea first got conceptualized, because they had realized that the DAO space was just kind of heavily skewed towards guys. So it was just a way for it was designed to be a space where women can come and learn about blockchain and get their ideas funded. And it was very it started off with around like the 10 or 15 of us, and we sort of assigned ourselves roles, piggybacking off this Greek life meme. So if you're not familiar with the American university system, it's based off like a sorority meme. So we have like Greek letters, and we have different chair positions pertaining to our responsibilities in the DAO. And so it's just been very fun for me, just because I like writing and kind of educating in the space, like I did with my blog. So far we participated in Meta Cartel's Dragon Hacks hackathon, and we entered the hackathon with this like information packet about what DeFi is, and we introduced one called Open. And I'm hosting another session next week with Meta Gamma Delta on personal security and online privacy. So that's pretty much where we are. We're at about 30 members right now, and it's just a good place for people to hang out and learn from each other.
Help me out, Nich. Is there like an overall like mission or objective of the DAO, or is it more of just like a gathering place?
So the mission is to fund women-led projects.
So, Nich, can I ask you to speak on behalf of all women at the risk of putting my foot in my mouth for a second? Because you actually, this touches on something that I was actually just talking with Sparrow about. And, we've obviously been hosting the Whip every week.
Right.
And we have like a reasonably diverse crew amongst ourselves, but it's all dudes. And I recognize that. And I reached out to Sparrow because I'm like, I don't really know the best way to navigate this situation, because I would really like to have one, if not more than one, female presence on the Whip team, but I also don't want to put out some sort of like public appeal at risk of seeming like just some, like, I don't know, some creepy weirdo trying to lure like a female on the team. We also are like a pretty grassroots, like bootstrap like thing right now. So I don't have a lot to offer anybody, and don't want to appear like I'm just trying to take advantage of like some sucker or something like that. So for someone in a situation like I'm describing right now, would like would what you're describing be like an appropriate group of people to approach about something like that? Or how do what does someone like me do, or someone like Matthew and I do?
To bring people onto the Whip team?
Or just if someone like us is just looking for more female presence in our company, organization, bootstrap, random metaverse project, like how does one, like, we recognize the void and the need for that presence on our team, but also not really sure of like the most politically correct or like right way to go about saying like, hey, we need a lady, like like obviously we want someone like qualified who has like a good perspective on things, who can bring something like different to the table. Just curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, like, we're on Telegram, so you can definitely come and put this opportunity out on the table. I'm sure like people will be interested to jump on it. We have people from all sorts of professions and industries come in with this shared interest in Web3. In terms of how to make the demographic more balanced, I'm not sure. I don't want to speak on behalf of like all women, but like for me, it like I attended the Whip just because I'm personally interested in this, right? And I think the imbalance that you're seeing is kind of it's just a gender imbalance in the blockchain ecosystem as a whole, and crypto community as a whole. There's a ton of talented women in the space, but I think they're just less from my observation, they're less vocal, and they're more like heads down, like doing the work sort of thing, rather than arguing on Twitter. So maybe that's kind of my my experience. But yeah, I mean, like crypto art, for example, has a lot of really talented like female crypto artists. Yeah. So I think it just depends on the expertise and what they're interested in, because there's uneven like representation in terms of like what they're interested in, right?
Is that sort of like that void that I guess we're both talking about within this like crypto ecosystem? Is that like the main reason that this women-led community was formed in the first place, just so there is sort of like an enclave or a community within the community to support women in this space?
Yeah, definitely. Because I feel like if I joined any DAO other than Meta Gamma Delta, it's gonna be like I'm gonna be like one of the few women in there, and it's not that they're like exclusive, but it's just like there tends to be this environment where like you're coming in and you're not really sure how like how do I say this like it just like people kind of know what they're talking about already, and there's no kind of like onboarding like thing that you go through. So I guess people are more hesitant to contribute their opinions, just because people are very opinionated in the space, and it's just kind of like off-putting when you see like guys arguing with each other, and you're like, oh, I don't know how I can, I don't know.
Wedge your way into that.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like maybe part of the mission with Meta Gamma Delta, of course, want to fund female-led projects. I feel like that's an obvious, amazing mission. And then part and parcel with that is shining the spotlight on what the projects are and then who's leading these projects. Because I feel like that's half the issue. Especially in a growing space, people aren't 100% aware of like all the projects out there. And like the number of projects like every day seems to be growing, especially at this point, things seem to be heating up. On the whip, again, like you are on the whip, and we try to highlight a lot of projects that people may have not heard about. And like just by nature of us being interested in really cool projects, we've had on like a really awesome, diverse group of folks. But from your vantage point over at Meta Gamma Delta, I'm sure you have a way better bird's eye view of all the projects that are led by amazing women in the space. I'm just wondering if you could shout some of those projects out, because like you said, they're not shouting at one another on Twitter. Their heads down grinding.
Sure. Yeah. So I alluded to before, we highlighted Open, which is led by Aparna. So it's a DeFi project. We have Simona, which does she did Bounties Network, and now she's with Peppo. So she's a really good community leader in the space. And of
Also
course we have
whip.
Carolyn from yes, we have Carolyn from Mintbase. I'm sure you know
Also
them.
on the whip.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see. We have already from Alice. So Alice is another social impact project. Some community leaders from MakerDAO, Avi, Vega Protocol, and also SafeDAI. Ksenia from SafeDAI is also that's a great project as well. Allows you to get an interest on your DAI. Yeah. So there's this like it's just like a whole bunch of people from different DeFi and NFT projects just coming together and sharing, just hanging out and seeing what projects we can get behind as a DAO.
I was just curious if, like, over the course of time, you've been in this space for a little while, do you feel like the rate of females coming into this space is congruent with the rate at which the space is expanding, or how would you compare the two?
That's interesting. I think it definitely grew with the diversity of types of projects and types of use cases in the space. So before it was Bitcoin and just cyberpunk. So that probably wasn't as balanced. But as DeFi came in, as NFTs and as crypto art came in, you just naturally end up attracting more people, and who might not even be interested in decentralized money, but they're interested in art or in the metaverse or in social impact type projects. So I think just the diversity of the types of projects and the level of sophistication of these projects, where they can contribute with their expertise, I think that's more of what it is.
And then I'm kind of curious, just like being in a DAO, I know like that carries like a really interesting cachet, and I feel like a lot of people are like, wow, you're living in like 2030, you're in a DAO, like crazy. But and especially since Meta Gamma Delta is pretty new, like what stage of the DAO is it? Like you're definitely like 30 members strong, it seems. Like, are there any funds that you guys have under management? Are there any projects that you've actually like given grants to? Like what is the actual like nuts and bolts of the DAO look like today, and like in the next couple of months, like where do you see
that's a good
going?
question. So our funding so far has come from Gitcoin grants, the latest round of Gitcoin grants, as well as Metacartel grants. And so that's a few thousand DAI. We have not funded any projects from the Guild Bank yet. Where right now we're working out the mechanisms and processes that we want to get behind to kind of standardize these processes. Like how do you decide on how do you submit a funding proposal and kind of how do we decide around that? So I think this week we're getting on like funding proposal calls and treasury management calls where we're brainstorming that with the group. So it's definitely like because this is kind of like a thing that everyone is doing on the side and it's kind of no one's full-time job. It's kind of like we're working through the hurdles of getting everyone organized and getting people to vote on things. So that's where we're at. And I think our latest big influx of members came from the DAO Rush Week, which I think was really cool. And there was also an after party on crypto voxels. So that was really cool. But so that's where we're at with Meta Gamma Delta. I actually wanted to build us like a sorority house on crypto voxels just so we have like a presence there. I took a tour of Lex DAO's parcel the other day at DAO Rush Week, and it was pretty cool. So it would be good if we had like a presence on like in these virtual worlds. Yeah.
Oh my God, Nich, you know what you're setting the stage for. There's going to be like a fraternity row or something in crypto voxels like sooner or later, and shit's going to get real.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
So actually, Leo from Machi X gave me build rights to his Berkeley themed, because he's a Cal alum, and he's got this Bear Territory, like a parcel called Bear Territory, and he was like, it's like blue and yellow, and he never really did anything with it. So it would be good if we built like, so I was just talking to him, and he was like, it would be good if we built like a tailgating scene with like a beer pong table, and we can have like a screen that's showing like Pac-12 games and like a barbecue, and we can just hang out.
No, I'm in. Send me an invite.
Yeah.
Get me on the guest list. No, it sounds awesome. As soon as you get it set up, we'll coordinate. We'll get the whip after party funneled right into the sorority beer pong tournament, and it'll be.
I mean, and I feel like things like that is how we get more people into the space, right? Like it's so much funner just to give them a URL that they could just go to in this world, rather than give them like a whole lecture about the history of money and like decentralization.
It is. Nich, you're preaching my language. I've been saying the same thing. It's like the money and the crypto conversation can come later. Come play beer pong and have fun, and then we can talk about that shit. Yeah.
And so when I was doing Dragon Hacks, Jin Dank VR was also a participant in that, and he built this awesome project for Dragon Hacks. It's like a Burning Man themed thing in VR, and I would like love to see more stuff like that, like just a hackathon just to accelerate the kind of VR builds in the space, right? So I mean, I feel like something like that would attract a lot of eyeballs and also a lot of builders into the space as well. We're already seeing like the emergence of people like architects, like in-world architects, right? Like Toxam and the Crypto Murders guys.
Yeah, Jin is from the future. We're not ready for Jin yet as like a population. He's always got the coolest ideas and is doing the coolest shit, and like it's just, I feel like just beyond everybody's grasp. But I'm right there with you, Nich. All that stuff is, I feel like the more eyeballs you get on it, like you can't deny like the coolness of it. It's impossible. It's just people just aren't aware of it yet.
But like, what do you guys think about a metaverse DAO? Like I was on the Meta Cartel call last week, and Peter Pan suggested like, why don't you guys just make a metaverse DAO and just fund like projects like whatever Jin's doing, and just have a lot more eyeballs in the space like they did with Dragon Hacks.
Dude, I'm down for all these ideas. I feel like I'm in like a bunch of DAOs that I forgot about or don't even know about. There's just not enough time in the day to like do all the things. But I mean, I feel like it's an awesome idea. Go ahead, man. What were you going to say?
So I'm in the middle. I'm not even in the middle. I'm at the end. I'm about to release a little short story called Worldwide Whip. And in there, just talk about like build out of what a like a metaverse DAO would look like.
Yeah.
Specifically behind a virtual show like the Whip. And I definitely feel like that's the next step. But the first step is making sure that there's like that content, there's that thingness that people love to get on board with. So like we have the show, we definitely have momentum there, and we have a crew that we're building out. And now like at the middle of that, we have this like Gnosis Vault. And from there, I feel like it just decentralizing some of the decision-making process, or just providing the tools to make like the financial decisions like more automatic, which is like the real power of a DAO. But there's a lot that you can do community-wise with the wet code before you get into the dry code of actually programming a DAO, which I see that more as a last stage as opposed to like doing something at the outset. But I'll be talking with Peter Pan tomorrow morning, and I'm sure he's going to bring that up to me. So thank you for prefacing that, so I can just think about that a little bit longer. But before we wrap up, I know Rizzle has his go-to awesome questions. It's the personal, a little invasive, but roll with it. And
weekly shakedown. I guess we should, sort of the weekly pickpocket. What's in your wallet, Nich? What? No, for real. Always curious at what other people are poking around with in their collections of NFTs and in their ETH wallet and everything. So is there anything that you don't directly have your hand in that you're peeking at on the side or collecting on the down low, or what do you got going on in there?
I don't think I'm collecting this on the down low. I talk about avatars a lot. So I own, I think, like 2 or 3 exclusive avatars, and then I minted a few more after their release. So I think that's one of my favorite projects in the space. So I really like my avatar 116. And let's see. Oh, so I participated in one of their bounties last week and got my hand on some whale, which I'm.
Oh, you found one? I was scrolling for like hours. I feel like it. Jim told me I'm not allowed to win anyway after I had been scrolling for hours, but I didn't find one, so I didn't.
It took me a long time. It took me a long time, and I got the second last one. I think the one with the space girl. The space girl.
Damn.
Yeah, I got the second last one, and some people were finding like 3, and I'm like, how are you doing this? But yeah, so I got my hands on some of my first whale. I bought my first Twisted Vacancy piece last week on Nifty Gateway. Let's see. Yeah, I think those are my. Oh, I have some Pranksy, but so yeah, I'm kind of foraying into the crypto arts. I really, really want to get my hands on a Matt Kane, just because like I feel. Like I don't know if it's I don't know if it was your podcast that you spoke to him, but he brought up just like his vision about how artists can leverage like this digital medium to like unlock exclusive content, like the behind the scenes of the artists, and like how that could be like a unique experience that you can unlock as a collector. So yeah, I mean I love that idea. And I like his pieces too, but I mean, they're a little bit out of my ballpark right now.
Yeah, that was definitely this podcast. And Matt Kane I reference him probably more than any other person on the Zen podcast when I'm talking about what's happening in the space. I just feel like as you mentioned, how he's thinking about the collectors and building out those unique experiences based on the collectors holding the NFTs is just, that's where it's at. And I'm happy to hear that you're a certified scroller. Be careful with that, and be careful coming into crypto art. It's definitely a slippery slope. Really fun slope, but slippery nonetheless.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much for finally hopping on the show. I know we've been scheduling back and forth for a couple of weeks. Really happy to share Last of Ours with our audience, and it was awesome digging into Meta Gamma Delta. And I'm really excited to hear your forward progress in both of those initiatives and projects. So thank you so much, and keep on creating.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Nich. That was awesome.
Hey everybody, it's Matthew again, and I hope you enjoyed Rizzle and my conversation with Nich from Last of Ours. As always, if you're not subscribed to the You Deserve a Drink podcast, make sure you subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and recommend this conversation to a friend whom you think would enjoy these sorts of interviews. Heading forward, we have an awesome interview lined up with V from Lendroid. Really excited to bring you that, as well as a conversation with DCL Blogger that we just recorded, which is a really, really great chat. Highlights a lot of the opportunities in the virtual event space and dives deep into VR worlds. So look forward to our conversation with DCL Blogger dropping next week, and our conversation with V from Lendroid dropping the week after. I hope everyone has an amazing weekend. Stay safe, and we'll see you on the flip side. Sent on.
Sent podcast. Sent podcast. Sent podcast. Sent podcast.